Great to hear. Welcome to the Pelican. Of course, we met about a year ago, and I think you've come up with a fabulous concept and a fantastic platform for traders, retail traders, particularly those that are new to trading and don't feel confident about going and doing all their own analysis. This is a fantastic opportunity to be able to follow the experts and sort of talk about the different trade setups with your peers. So I really like it. This is why I wanted to get involved and highlight you through these events, which has been good. But you're now in your second stage of raising funds. The business is growing, and it's great to hear about what's going on. So if you want to tell us about a little bit about the background, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Simon. You always say all the right things. So thank you, and thank you very much, everybody on Round the Clock Trading for listening in. As you suggest, it's very exciting times for us because tomorrow we launch a CrowdCube crowdfunding campaign, and to date, over the past year or so, we've been relentlessly making the case to users about why we should exist, and very simply that's by trading amongst ourselves and creating a network for retail traders, then we can hopefully make better trading decisions and become more profitable. And the reason this is a bit of a watershed for us is because we are now making the case to users to become potential owners of Pelican as well. I think what I'd like to do today is just take this opportunity to try and explain to people why trading, not only trading on Pelican is good for you, but becoming a shareholder of Pelican is also potentially very beneficial as well. And that's what this presentation is really about. I suppose this presentation here is the presentation that we've been given to giving to venture capitalists and potential investors. The whole process is slightly contrived in so much that crowdfunding on CrowdCube and Seeders doesn't really work until you've got the funds already pledged for. So we've been presenting to various people over the course of the last 3 months to try and get the money. We are hoping to raise £750,000 on CrowdCube or through this funding round, and we have already got written agreement for £650,000 of that. So we just need another 100,000 to hit our target, and we're very excited. We've got two very good institutions who are part of this round. One is called Venrex. Venrex is a specialist EIS fund that focuses on consumers, consumer-facing businesses, and they've got some fantastic feathers in their cap. Included in these are Just Eat, the very famous internet delivery service for takeaway shops around the UK, and they've also backed, I think, the likes of Fevertree, Not on the High Street, and various other very successful businesses. So they're obviously very picky about who they invest in, and they've got a great track record. So very thrilled that they're coming on board. And we've also got a fund called Kima who are coming in. And Kima is the fund of a French billionaire called Xavier, and he is behind one of the biggest telecoms companies in France, and he makes multiple investments in the tech space, and he's very excited about what we're doing. So it's fantastic that he's coming on board as well. So we've got two great backers there. The rest of the funds come from high net worth individuals. Our existing shareholders have been very supportive, and the likes of the IG directors, Will Armitage and Andrew Mackay, have yet again followed their money, which is great news. So what we're after on the CrowdCube campaign, and hopefully from members of Round the Clock Trading community, is to come on board and join us all. All the terms are exactly the same for all shareholders. There's no funny business. Mike and I were very hot on that, having been corporate finances and in the investment banking world in a previous life. So everything's very fair, and the pre-new money valuation is £4 million. There's no real science behind that, I'm afraid, other than the fact that it means that people coming on board now can make an awful lot of money if the business is successful, which it will be. So on that basis, I'll quickly rattle through these slides. It's mercifully short, so we should be done fairly quickly. So if we move on to the second slide here, Simon, we've got a slight technical issue in so much that I can't go. Here we go. I have to use a mouse.
There we are. Yep, we're looking at.
Excellent. So here we've just got a couple of quotes and the screenshots of how the app works. Users of Pelican and people who join, people like Ian, will be familiar with those screenshots. And there's a couple of quotes from our more high-profile users on the right-hand side, which is great. And this is just an intro slide mainly for people who are not familiar to us. And here on the third slide, what we're trying to convey to people is that we're providing retail traders the first opportunity really on a fully integrated platform to share trades and ideas in one place. And the title of the slide is Every Trade is a Story to Tell or a Debate to Settle. And this was the reason that Venrex liked us and were very keen to put money in, is because you always hear from friends. It might be down the pub, it might be at a party, it might be at work, who are talking about a particular stock or a particular market that they're fantastically enthusiastic about. But with current systems, that's where it ends. And with using Pelican, it's very easy to say, if someone's passionate about Facebook, for example, or US tech stocks, to come onto the app, place a trade, and then see how that trade plays out and debate it as that trade plays out. And this is really a first amongst the retail trading community in the UK, and will soon be across Europe as well. And of course, it's worth pointing out at this particular point that this might be a novelty for the likes of us, but it's certainly not a novelty for your institutional traders, the Fidelities and the M&G potentials in this world. Every fund manager in the city walks into the office and switches on his Bloomberg terminal, and his Bloomberg terminal is used for exactly the same purposes as Pelican is used. They share trades, discuss ideas, look at analytics, see which way the market's going, check out the news, etc., etc. And that's really what we aspire to be. And it is based and revolves around this very simple action that's displayed on page 3. Page 4 here, where you've got a picture of the live pits that were available in the 90s in Cannon Street, I suppose, captures the essence of what we're trying to bring back. Trading has always been a very social thing. It's always been working out what other people are doing. And this is what we're trying to bring to life through people's phones. And what makes us special is that we spent 3 years with ESMA, which is the European authority, which gets an awful lot of power as of January next year, and the Financial Conduct Authority to get regulated to be able to undertake this. And there are other people like DarwinX and eToro who have advisory permissions, which we do, but they're not used in the way that we use them. They are used for auto-copying. They're not used to create a network for traders where people can discuss things and work things out for themselves. And so we stand by the fact that we are the only people with these regulations using it in this specific way to try and help traders become more profitable. So page 5 is a bit more of a look at the trade tab that appears on the chat wall when someone makes a trade. And it's trying to get across to investors that you can do an awful lot of things on Pelican, which are listed out on the left-hand side. So when these things appear, as users of Pelican will know, you can do an awful lot of things from it. You not only see who's made the trade, what they've made, which direction, what quantity they are, how much profit they're making, but you can also then go and copy it, inverse it. You'll soon be able to comment on it in the next release that's coming out in a few weeks' time. And you can see how the trade plays out by tapping on a trade tab, and then it expands out into a chart that you can see in graphical format how it's working. Page 6 is trying to get across to potential shareholders why this is a good business opportunity. Because before we've been explaining to explaining to people why it's good for users. But what's happening on the app is that by sharing trades, it's created very high engagement levels on the app. And the reason for that is through a phrase that we've coined called the ripple effect. So if you're trading in isolation, as you would be on any other traditional broker, then you place your trade, that's it. And then you might get pulled back into that app because of news, or you want to check up on your trade or something like that. But in the case of Pelican, when you're connected to other traders, you see when other traders through an out-of-app notification have said something or done something. And by seeing that, you are pulled back into the app. And as a result, what we're seeing is that the engagement levels on the app are accelerating. And it's a very sticky app. This is one of these naff buzzwords that investors like to hear in the City of London. So we do have a spike at the end of July when Charlie Burton brought on his trading group, the swing group, onto Pelican, but it's since been growing. I mean, August is always traditionally quite slow, but the likes of Ian Foster, who's come on recently, and various other mentors are just driving engagement levels onwards and onwards and up and up. Yes, it's a very sticky app. That's what we're finding. The other reason why we're a good business investment is because we want to significantly reduce the cost of client acquisition, and this is one of the most valuable things that a network can provide its owners. So if we look at the traditional industry, I think in IG's last set of reporting accounts, they had spent £1,100 on upfront marketing costs to try and get a live account who's placed one trade. And I think in the case of Plus 500, that was £934. So this is a business that's defined mainly by marketing and huge investment on Google AdWords and Facebook advertising. So much so that Eric Schmidt, the chief executive of Google, went out to Cyprus 2 years ago for the big bun fight that happens annually out there, specifically to say thank you to everybody, because spread betting and CFD trading is the most profitable niche for Google. So, I mean, it really does say an awful lot that these AdWords are spent so heavily by traditional brokers. And what we're trying to achieve at Pelican is that if you're in a network and you can refer people into the network to say Ian's done a fantastic trade, and you want to go and share his network with someone and say, come on guys, you should get involved in this, this is amazing, then we give you the tools to do that. So you can post that invite up onto whatever medium you like, and people can follow that. And what's happened is that we have been able to dramatically reduce the cost of live accounts onto Pelican. So our marketing spend has traditionally been confined to Simon through round-the-clock trading, but also people like Simon's sister Lisa, who organises trade shows, and that's what we spent our marketing budget to date. But this is wound down, and it's Simon who we really invest time and money in at the moment, pretty much exclusively. And so in July, we spent, I think it was £107 on marketing, and we managed to get 114 new live accounts. So that gives a cost per acquisition of £3, which when you compare to IG is 1,100, means that we've got a lot more margin to play with there than they obviously have. The page 8, we move on to I suppose the elephant in the room for the whole of the industry. And when the FCA came out with their white paper in November 2016, they identified that 82% of retail traders lost money, and not small amounts of money, significant amounts of money, and they concluded in that paper they didn't see why this industry existed other than to profit traditional brokers. And I think if there's one reason why Pelican exists, it's to try and help traders address that issue. And this is a slide that just gives a case study of Six Financial, which is one of the public groups that you can all go and join for free at the moment. And if you go and copy their trades, you can see that they've got a fantastic track record. And at the moment, we are rapidly not becoming a one-trick pony. So we've got Ian on board, we've got Zahir Anwari's started publishing his trades. We've got Thierry, we've got Nicholas from Trader Matrix. We've got about a dozen or so very high quality mentors who are now publishing their trades in groups, either for free or for a small amount of money every month. And the idea is that people go on there and they can interact with these mentors and hopefully start making some good profitable trading decisions. And if that's one benchmark that I want us to be judged on in 5 years' time, it is improving that metric that the FCA came out with. The following slide 9, just to reiterate the earlier point, means that the ripple effect I mentioned is that if you create a successful network, then activity feeds off itself, and the activity that feeds off itself creates very good quality content that becomes very attractive to people who want to come on board, and so the circle continues. And that's very much our aim. We want to introduce features to make Pelican as engaging as possible and add so much more to trading than is currently available, and in doing so be more and more attractive to other traders going forward. On page 10, I'm just giving a bit of a highlight about how we make our money. We make our money in 3 ways. At the moment, we have a relationship with Intertrader, and for every trade that's placed, live trade, we make 12 pence in and 12 pence out. So if you were to take a trade for on, say, the FTSE 100, and it's a 1-point spread and it's a £1 trade, then we would get 12 pence from Intertrader when that trade's opened and 12 pence on that trade when it's closed. We also have created a mentor marketplace. So the likes of Charlie Burton at the moment is charging, I think, money to be part of his swing group, and we take approximately 20% of that money that he charges on a monthly subscription, and that comes through to us. And then in time, I'm talking about the next 6 months or so, we're going to allow traders to be able to connect their MT4 accounts to Pelican, and that will be for a small fee. It costs us about $5 to connect an MT4 account to Pelican, and we'll probably be making a small markup on that. So again, a traditional broker lives and dies by the volume of trades that goes through it, and also if they BBOK on their clients' losses. We don't BBOK. We do make money through the volume of trades going through, but hopefully we'll have a much more stable income due to the subscription income from mentors, following mentors, and the MT4 plugins. So hopefully we'll be less erratic sales at Pelican and more smooth sales at Pelican. Everybody asked us about our marketing strategy, which I've touched on before. We're very keen not to go toe-to-toe with the likes of much better resourced competitors like IG, CMC, Plus 500, eToro, etc. And we've very specifically, with Simon's help on events like this, tried to link up with mentors and get them on, because obviously people want to see what they're doing. And they've also been bringing some of their clients with them, which has been fantastic for us. And we've had great success in large part thanks to Simon. This is a competitive landscape. We're talking about a whole gamut of issues here, whether or not you can trade on it and how professional and transparent it is. Obviously we come out top because we put the slides together, but it's meant to give a flavour of where we stand in the whole landscape. On page 13, we have this thing called an onion ring chart, which shows where we want to go in the future. And we very much want to go and get the whole retail trading nut cracked first in the UK. But we are a European, we do have European passporting rights. And so we will be, certainly with Brexit coming up, we'll be opening an office somewhere in Europe over the next year or so and looking to expand there. We want to get people who trade shares in on the app, because I think for the UK retail trading industry is about 100,000 people, and the UK ISA individual share traders are about 1 million, so it's a much bigger market, and there's obviously very strong similarities between all of them. Essentially one's leveraged and the other one's not, but the ideas are still exactly the same, and that's what we're trying to achieve. So we're going to expand into that, and then ultimately two companies really defined what we want to be. Bloomberg, we want to be a Bloomberg for the retail traders, and I think Strava, if you guys are into cycling and running, you'll probably know that app, and the way it shares runs and training and everything with its users and sparks activity has been a real inspiration for us, and that's what we look to in terms of the whole sharing and community aspect of it. On page 14, we touch on a bit of what we've achieved and what we're going to spend the money on. We are going to be investing, I think, having a bit of a catch up in the next couple of months, bedding down a few infrastructure issues that we've got to go and resolve. But in terms of new features, we're going to be expanding massively on the stats going forward. We're going to be investing on ways people can share trades with other people outside the Pelican network and connect to people within the Pelican network. We've got a partnership with a company called STT, which will allow autocopying for MT4 accounts. There seems to be a fairly strong demand for that, and that will take place at the same time as integrating MT4. And then the desktop is what will come later after that. The desktop is a major challenge. There's no point in doing something that has been done already. So we need to think very carefully about how we can beat IG and CMC at their own game, who have fantastic desktops right now. And then we'll also probably look at doing a sports betting iteration of it. It won't be integrated into the same platform, it will be a separate app, but the similarities there from a technology perspective are very, very strong. So it would be opportune of us to go and do that. And then next year we want to bring in share dealing, and as I've mentioned, probably having go in another jurisdiction, somewhere in Europe probably. Over the next year we would quite like to break even. We think we can do that. The amount of money that we need to break even is minuscule compared with the overheads of CMC and IG, for example. And here at the top of that slide, I mentioned that we just need 0.6% of CMC's trade volume to break even. So that's the goal. And with a combination of low costs and our additional revenue streams, I think we can get to the same margins as everybody else in the industry. And to be clear about that, I think IG reported pre-tax margins of 45% in their last account. Flamingo, this is not really, it's just to say that shareholders who come in will be utilising and leveraging off our existing technology investment for sports betting, and Betfair for one are very excited by this. And finally, this is our ugly mugs. So Mike and I founded the company. Andrew was he's a non-executive director and I suppose chairman at Pelican. He was on the main board of IG and responsible for their international expansion. Tom is the co-founder of Venrex and he's come on board as a director. And Will is a former director at IG as well, and ex-head of Europe IG. And he is a very active and engaged shareholder. So that's very much the presentation. The form is that you will get an email tomorrow if you are interested and you can certainly ask Mike and I any questions about the business. And if you want to, if we're compelling enough to invest, then the Crowdcube goes live to early birds tomorrow, and you'll be included in that. Generally very excited about everything, and great to have you guys on board. Simon, are you there?
Yes, I am. I was tapping away, putting your email address into the chat box there for anybody who wants to contact you through that. What a great story! It's tremendous what you've done, and I'm sure there's going to be some people here today, and other people that listen, maybe not live here today, that will be interested to get involved on this. I think you've identified the key opportunities, and I know just literally from the trader's point of view, the feedback's great from people that are already on the groups using it as a user. So this is a good opportunity to get on to invest into Pelican, and enjoy the story as we go forward. Peter Watson might be able to come and tell us a little bit more about the updates to the app itself as well.
Yeah, he is, and I will hand you over. And also, Peter will be able to answer any questions you may have about the presentation that I've given as well.
Fantastic. Well, Peter, that's great. Thanks on behalf of everybody. Thank you for coming and telling us. Good luck with funding. As I say, we'll be sending email out to everybody tomorrow, so they know how to go about. It's Crowdcube funding, isn't it? So it's quite a simple process.
Well, you've got to register on Crowdcube, and that requires, I think it's a standard AML check. So you've got to supply a couple of pieces of documentation to identify yourself, and then once you've done that, you select on the Pelican Exchange Limited Crowdcube pitch, and then at the end of that, you can go and suggest your interest, register your interest to invest.
Fantastic, great. Oh well. Fingers crossed, and thanks for joining us today, and hopefully we'll see some response from that. Certainly, Steve has come back and said MT4 interface, great news. So he's delighted to see that development coming along to be able to plug in the MT4.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, well here's Peter right now.
Thank you, Peter, and to other Peter.
Hello, Simon.
Peter, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for that. Peter Reid has just talked us through the plans for the business.
Yeah, I was listening on another computer, and I don't know. Just to check, he pointed out that everyone who receives emails from Round the Clock Trading will be getting an email tomorrow, pointing them towards giving them an early preview of the crowdfunding on Crowdcube.
Fantastic. That's really good.
That's great. So what I thought I'd do now is, in fact, one of our largest outside investors, called Will Armitage, has dropped by in the office this afternoon. And what I thought is maybe it would be useful to run through a few questions with him, as he is obviously an existing investor, and I thought that might be a valuable exercise. So how long have we got left, Simon, just out of interest?
We have about 20 minutes. Our next speaker will be starting at 1, so if we could keep it to maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah, that will certainly be very much be adequate. So what I'm going to try and do is take the one set of earphones out and put us on loudspeaker. So you'll have to tell me if it's acceptable in terms of the noise. If it's not, we'll have to switch earphones in a slightly amateur way. So I'll do that now.
Hi, Simon. Hi, Simon. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you fine. Actually, I think that's acceptable. That's fine. Thanks.
Good. Brilliant. So yeah, if I can just introduce Will, who's as I say, is one of Pelican's largest outside investors. He's been involved with us as an investor and an advisor to us and the board for some time. So I just thought, Will, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. And I thought I'd just perhaps first ask you, well, a little bit about your own background and how you got into what is angel investing, effectively.
Well, I think it stems back to some sort of brief point about my career. I worked at a company called IG, which is quite big in this space. I was there for a total of 12 years. I spent 7 years on the dealing desk and then 5 years in management. And actually was sort of my career crossroads. I took a 3-month sabbatical and met somebody who was starting up a wine business in America, of all things. And that's where I started the angel investing bug. I invested in that business, and then returned to IG, did 5 years in IG's management and international development, and then head of Spain and then head of Europe. And during that time, towards the end of my career at IG, I made a large investment in another US wine business that did brilliantly for the first 12 months of operation, and then not so well. And that not so well coincided with my departure from IG and launching this wine business in Europe, whilst the American business was hemorrhaging cash. And so that didn't actually work, sadly. But for the last 5 years, I've been actively angel investing and have got currently over 30 investments live around the world. But Pelican trading is the one that excites me most.
That's great. So that's really interesting to hear. And so, out of interest, how did you sort of first come across Pelican as a potential investment as part of your portfolio?
Well, it's funny. Actually, as an investment, it was only comparatively recently, about 2 years ago. But actually, when Pelican first appeared on my radar was my last ever IG Senior Strategy Away Day back in 2011, when we were aware of Pelican and their efforts to consider moving into the copy trading space, made popular by the likes of eToro and Zulu Trade. And at that stage, the IG executive, we weren't entirely sort of sure as to those sorts of businesses, and of course they were not properly FCA regulated, so we didn't really consider it too strongly. And then I met the brothers 2 years ago, and they explained the evolution of what they'd developed with Pelican, and that really excited me. So yeah, probably for the last 2.5 years, I'd say I've been in close contact with them.
So that's interesting. So you actually first found out about Pelican while you were working at IG?
Correct. So yeah, they've been around for a while, but it's only now recently with this what I deem to be truly social trading that I've now got very excited.
Yeah, so that's superb. So I mean, in terms of obviously you came to a point from first being made aware of Pelican to coming to a point where you were going to invest your hard-earned cash. As a pure financial investment, what attracted and does attract you, because I know you're taking part in this funding round as well, attract you to Pelican as an investment that may offer a good return?
Well, I think you look at the business now, it's still in its comparative infancy, even though I've been looking at it for over 2 years. But what I love is both the team and the concept of where they are coming at this competitive industry from. To me, there's a massive global opportunity. This is online trading now. It's funny, when I hark back to the early 2000s at IG, when we had our first ever dealing platform, and you type in, a client would it was like a chat box. A client would type in a market request, and you type back the price, they try and trade. Clearly the world's evolved rapidly, but I think where Pelican sits, that they can truly revolutionize this industry. To me, it's the natural amalgamation of forums and chat sites coupled with an online trading and social piece, which is, in my mind, unique. There's nobody else out there I know who are coming at it from this exact angle. They've spent many years getting the FCA on board with how this can become sort of compliant with the regulations, so they are uniquely regulated. This is a global opportunity, and there's the outlier of sports betting as well. Because if you make a truly socially functioning and engaging trading platform, the parallels with the sports betting is stark and obvious. And I don't know if those of you who will look at the deck and investigate, but you'll see that the aim is to have a sports betting business as well.
That's superb. That's interesting to hear. And simply, I mean, something that I talked about before is the customer experience at Pelican that we're aiming for, perhaps compared to IG, CMC and other major players in the market, and the fact that Pelican we think increases traders' chance of making money, managing their risk better, getting a return, and of course we're market neutral and we don't bet against client trades, which is something the main way the traditional industry players make a healthy profit out of this industry. We don't agree with that. So that's great to hear. So, I mean, we've heard about it's a global opportunity, and I think that's right. In time, it will be. And there's a big market out there which Pelican I think will grab a sizable share of. So, I mean, perhaps obviously when you're thinking about an investment, you think about some of the challenges, some of the obstacles that we've got to overcome in the next year, 2 years, 5-year plan with Pelican. Well, what would you identify as perhaps the biggest 2 or 3 challenges that are going to affect this investment?
It's always funny when I look at all the investments I've made and what the excitement factor you get when people talk about the dream and the vision, and yet very rarely will people talk about the risks, the threats, the challenges that are going to crop up in the years ahead. And having worked in the industry and knowing it very well and helped to sort of internationalize via IG, I'm really well placed to sort of understand the challenges and risks out there. And I think top of the list has to be regulatory. Clearly, MiFID II coming in next year. We had the FCA ruling. But where I think from an investment perspective in Pelican, this product should cross borders seamlessly. I know the system's already been worked upon so that multi-language variations can be made very quickly and rolled out very seamlessly. And given Pelican's unique social piece and the ability for Pelican users to invite all their friends in seamlessly, and therefore we'll have a low cost of acquisition, that's where the excitement sort of is, that you can potentially mitigate the regulatory concerns, focusing purely on the UK spread betting market by saying online trading is a truly global industry, and we have a product that can move rapidly overseas, or we can move into sports. And what we'll actually do is we'll do both, because I think that is where we could make some serious returns, both as users and as investors in Pelican.
So the sports side of this business in the future, Flamingo, that's been talked about as a real possible revenue stream. I suppose in regulatory terms, that would be regulated by the Gambling Commission, would it, rather than the FCA?
Correct. That's correct. Yeah.
And that would be an easier.
That's a much easier regulation, and there are obviously, as I'm sure most of the listeners are aware, there are other regulators out there around the world where we could go.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly interesting in terms of the future, of the potential in the future for Flamingo. Several of the larger bookmakers are already experimenting with this kind of thing, not to the extent of interactivity that would be available with Flamingo, but very much it's in their mind, this kind of thing. So.
Correct. You look at the advertising, you see it's social, it's engagement, and yet they have not yet built anything that one can engage with one's friends and have a wager. Whereas we replicate what is in Pelican with this business called Flamingo, and the code DNA. I spoke to the CTO a couple of weeks ago, and he said the code difference would be about 8%. So it would be an easy and speedy rollout.
That sounds encouraging. I'm sure the developers here at Pelican, that'll be music to their ears. The work, I know they do a huge amount of work here on the software, and it's obviously a massive part of our business going forward. So I think perhaps finally, thank you, Will. That's a really interesting answer. Perhaps finally, I'll just say, where do you see Pelican in 5 years' time, and what the exit strategy might be in the minds of investors?
Well, clearly one's going to hope that we have a truly global brand. We are pushing this as being a truly social trading platform. And as I've harped to earlier, there's no reason why this cannot go global. And we hope that we can use what's called the virality coefficient, as in the propensity of our users who enjoy the app and we're going to be working tirelessly to improve the functionality of the app, the robustness, the offering, the charts, the news. It's going to become as good, I hope, as the top platforms. But we're very lucky that we have the regulation and have built the app from mobile-led first, that we can roll this out and use our audience to attract following users onto the platform. So I see global presence both in the leverage trading sites, so CFDs and spread betting, but again, we can roll this out into standard stockbroking, which will open up to a much wider audience. We could do warrants. There's a massive market of warrants in places like Hong Kong, for example, so there's no reason why we can't attempt to roll this out. Clearly, if this is successful, the team will grow rapidly, and we'd have to be good at delegating and prioritizations, both of IT and the staff. But there's no reason why this business cannot do that, from what I've seen so far in the last 2 years.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And certainly from my point of view, being on the business development side, I've been amazed at the amount of queries, live account applications, even from all over the world, even from districts where they can't actually, where accounts are restricted. So Australia, New Zealand, a big trading community out there. America are really interested. I mean, it's really all over the world and all over Europe. So, yeah, with technology the way it's going now, and the ability of people to download an app from anywhere in the world with an internet connection, obviously makes this possible. I think, yeah, I can't thank you enough, Will, and I think, Simon, I don't know what the Times situation is. I haven't got it on the computer.
Yeah, we're fine. Yeah, we're fine, Peter. Thank you, Will, as well, for coming along. And
Pleasure.
it's a very, very exciting prospect, and it's been super to listen to. We've learned a lot about Pelican from the user side, the sort of consumer side, and we're all traders here in the webinar. But it's very exciting to see the sort of pullback and look at the potential for the to be used on a wider scale. So great, thank you for that.
Pleasure. I just think with you, because having been a big trader myself, I'm currently not trading particularly well. So those of you on the Pelican app, you can find me there. And one of the Pelican's other unique features is that you can oppose people's trades. So you can see my trade and you think, well, he's going to get it wrong. Maybe I'm sort of the lead indicator for a poor trade. You want to be long the Dow and short all the yen? Thank you, Simon. Nice to speak to you all.
Good for the contrarian investor. Fantastic. Will, thank you very much. Peter, do you want to summarise and finish off this last couple of minutes?
Well, yeah, I think I just, I'd like to thank the Round the Clock Trader Network for listening to this talk. Those who have, I'd urge there will be people there who are new to Pelican, and this is slightly double Dutch to them. The best thing to do is simply download the app, and find out more about the group, particularly the groups on Pelican being led by the mentors. I think just from looking at the app, you'll see the potential it's got compared to other brokers. I'd also ask people to look at the website, and I'll just try and get it up on the screen. So we've got a new website, which I talked about last month. No, it's not working. Hold on, there it is. So if I can get this website up very quickly, and I think, did you kindly put that link up in the message box?
Yes.
Brilliant. So that link goes to the blog section of our website, where you'll find not only Pelican revolutionises retail trading, that's more information about the investment available on CrowdCube. It also has new landing pages for mentors. So we've got existing mentors like Charlie Burton, Nick Hillston we're excited about. He's just come on, he's on the app. You can join his group now. I think it's called Hillston Trading. We also have Sahir Anwari has just set up a group, and he's just done his first trade. Tom Unger and Frank D of Six Financial, their group's been going for some while. There's information about them. And so what we've done is we've asked all the mentors 15 questions, exactly the same questions. They've given a background and an answer to all of those questions. and we've tried to cover every base, including obviously as well as trading strategy, the recommended account size, any cost to being a member of their groups, and so on. So I think I'd urge people to, particularly look at that blog section of the website, as well as finding out, continuing to use the app, and we very much look forward to seeing everyone on there. So also I'd mention Ian Foster, beer winning trader, who we heard earlier. He should, I'll double check his is live. It should be. I'll double check that. Yeah, it is there. There it is. Pelican mentor Ian Foster. So perhaps very finally, as always, feedback is incredibly important to us, and very welcome via email, support@pelicantrading.io, or indeed just contact Simon and he'll put you in touch with us. But it's really important to us, the feedback, or even give us a call. Our contact details are clearly on the website. So it just leaves me to thank you again, to thank Will Armitage again, and Peter Reid earlier, for their input, and thank you, Simon, for hosting.